Hello, hello, hello. I don't know why that's not working. All right, guys. Let's see if it all gets out this time. If the notification goes out this time. I'm not quite sure why I'm lagging, but here we go. Bear with me one moment. Make sure I put that there. Alrighty. Hello, 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 hello. This is Lisa with Heart of Inspiration, and I'm so glad that you were able to make it to Toxic Relationship Tuesday. So tonight I want to talk about something that is potentially a little bit of a interesting topic. Hello, Miss Shemaya. How are you, love? So this could be a little bit controversial or stuff, but I want to talk to everybody about why do we still have a void sometimes in our heart, a hole in our heart, once we get out of a toxic relationship. As I put in the description, and I'll be brief tonight, I'm not going to be very long. As I put in the description, you get out of these toxic relationships, and it doesn't matter if you've only been in it for 3 months or 30 years. People typically will say things like, okay, great, they'll give you maybe 6 months, maybe a year, and they'll say, okay, well, maybe you should start dating again. Or they don't understand, like, well, I don't understand why you're even still thinking about this person. Or I don't understand why this person even, comes across your brain, or why do you even still talk about this person? You just need to get over it, right? They're in the past. You've finally gotten rid of them. You've finally gotten out of the situation you were in. And, just get past it. Get beyond it. Get over it. That's not just that simple, is it? It's not just that simple. You see, what they don't recognize is how codependent you've become with that person. They don't realize how your spirits have literally been intertwined, how your auras and your energy are meshed, how they got into your head and how they got into your heart. They don't get it. And so I want to talk about this because it's real. And it comes up even, there's moments even now. I've been divorced a full year. Been away from him for a year and a half. And there's still occasions, like I was getting gas for Pete's sake and saw a truck that looked like his. And the person in the truck looked like him. And immediately I was like, oh my gosh, he's here. And it wasn't that I necessarily wanted to see him, but that icky feeling in my gut, that fear came about all of a sudden. It was just there all again. And you're like, oh my gosh. Or I was at Walmart a few days ago, and when I lifted my self-imposed quarantine, and I saw somebody else that from the back looked like him. I was like, this cannot be happening to me. This cannot be happening to me. This cannot be happening to me. Like, this man is not here. And he really would have no business to be here. But then I get this icky feeling again. And then sometimes you'll find yourself, even after you've been away from a toxic relationship for some time, there were always good parts about it. No relationship is always bad, because if it was always bad, we wouldn't even have gotten into it or be in it at all. There are some relationships, right? In every relationship, there's some good. And you might find yourself remembering the good in those moments. And then, especially at first, when you first get out of it, you're missing this person, and you know you shouldn't be missing this person. So why does that happen? That happens because we've become codependent, intertwined with this entity, with this spiritual being. Excuse me. You see, we gave our hearts, right? We gave all of us to this relationship because our quest to try to make them happy, to try to ease their pain because they're injured people as well, to try to heal them. In our quest to do all of those things, we gave up all of ourselves. And we became engulfed and a part of this toxic, sick, symbiotic system. And that system was abuser here abusing us. And somehow we began to feel like we deserved it, or we brought it on ourselves, or if we just only would have done this differently. Because they'll say that to us, won't they? If you would have only just not done this way and made me angry. If you just would have shut your mouth and not said anything else. If you would have just cooked the food just this way. If you would have just made the bed just this way. There's some women that are abusive to their men, right? That are narcissistic to their men. If you would have just given me the attention that I wanted, or if you would have just spoken to me in this certain way, I wouldn't have gotten angry. If you would just respect me, if you would just love me the way I need you to love me, if you would just have not, I mean, it can go on and on and on. And over time, we're conditioned that we actually believe it. Like, we know our spirit, our truth, knows that's not true. But that voice there gets so weak and it's so unhealed. It's triggered so many injuries within us that we don't know truth from lies. We don't know truth from falsehood. We just don't know. Just don't know. So what happens? We become sucked into and a part of this sick union where all the life is taken out of us and our identity literally becomes them. Our identity becomes their abuse. That's all we identify ourselves as, is the recipient of the abuse, be it emotional, be it physical, be it mental, be it sexual, all of the above, some of the above. We identify ourselves as the victim. Constantly. And because our identity has completely changed, when we finally find the courage and the strength to get out of it, there's this huge void. So if you look at it, like if you're like linked like this, and all of a sudden it goes, doosh, well, you're left with this. All these holes, all these gaping holes. You were once this, and now it's doosh, and now you're this. Yes, Shemaya, that's toxic relationship, what it can do to you. And toxic relationships can be defined as many different things. It's not always empaths and narcissists. Toxic relationships are abusive in any form. Or a toxic relationship can simply be that the two of you just aren't good for each other. That you don't bring out the best in one another. And you feed off of each other's negativity. You feed off of each other's pain. So it doesn't have to be completely abusive. A toxic relationship could actually be, I'm just feeding off of your pain and you're feeding off of my pain. And we both don't know how to get out of this because neither one of us know how to heal our pain. It can be that too. And you bring out all the triggers and all of the stuff with each other. But that's still codependent. It's still codependent. And some of us, it's hard to admit that we ended up being in a codependent relationship. Because on the outside, we're so strong, right? We're this strong woman or this strong man that's kind and wonderful. But behind closed doors, this is what's happening. And we lose a little part of ourselves every day, every moment that we're in it. So when someone says, just get out of it, I want to look at them and be like, what? I mean, people used to say that to me, that had never been in a toxic relationship. So why do you have the void? You have the void because this huge part of yourself, literally has been ripped out when you get out of it. And you should get out of it. And I want to say right now, if anyone is listening to me and you are being abused, please find a women's shelter if you're a woman. Please contact me. I will help you find one. Get out as soon as you can. Get out. Because if you're staying, like if you have children and you're staying because you're scared that you won't be able to provide for the kids, honey, the worst day that you would have with those kids is better than remaining in that life and in that home. Excuse me. They don't need to see you being abused or hear you being abused. They don't need to see that or hear that. They will grow up to be either abusers or victims. And for some of us that grew up in a household where it was a toxic and abusive relationship, we didn't get into the abuse. I didn't get into an abusive relationship per se until I was in my late 40s. My late 40s. So it doesn't always, I mean, I was in other relationships, but it doesn't always play out exactly like we think. Now that we know why we have the void, I never tell you, talk about a problem that we don't come up with a solution. What do we do to fill that void? That's where this energy healing comes in. That's where this filling the void with love and light comes in. That's where working with Creator, working with God to heal unhealed wounds, to fill that part of us that feels that we don't deserve it. That part of it, that part of ourselves that believes that we're somehow unworthy. That's where this comes into play. That's where this concept of self-partnering comes into play. Okay? One moment. I need to blow my nose. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm sick and I'm still doing this. Hold on. Hello, Heather. Whoops. Hello, Heather. How very undignified, right? Gotta blow my nose. Um, Learning. I understand, love. I had to learn through meditation, prayer, counseling, working with energy healers like myself, how to go deep within and say, why have I allowed myself to be in this relationship? Why do I feel like this is something that I should be in and I don't deserve any better? Why do I have this void? Why am I still thinking about him? I want you to understand something as well. Never, ever, 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 ever fault yourself for falling in love. Never do that. Yes, there were good times you had. There were good times I had that I can look back on with the ex and say, you know what, we had a great time. There were good times. But I can look at it now from a different point of view. I look at it now and I'm like, those are great times, but in my case, I was dealing with a narcissist. They weren't real for him, they were real for me. He may have said he loved me, but he never really honestly did. He may have said that he cared for me and that I was his all in all, but that wasn't really quite true. Now, was it? So, it was the facade, right? That who he had to pretend to be. So I can look at it and say, I had great times with that facade. We shared laughs, we went dancing, we did a number of things that we had wonderful times. But the reality of it is he is a toxic energy vampire. And that part of me that sought to heal that little boy that had been severely abused as a child, which is why he became all the way actually up until from about 4 or 5, all the way up until he was about 10 or 11 years old. And then there was like inappropriateness even afterwards as a teenager. That little boy had to go to a completely different place in order to survive. In order to survive an alcoholic mother, in order to survive females in his life that misused him. He had to survive that. So I understand how he was created, and I can feel empathy for him without needing to get back into that relationship. Able to be the empath and healer that I am. Now I don't speak to him, but able to be the empath and healer that I am, but not yet get entangled and entwined in the situation. So you have a void because this is what you were. And then when you get out of the relationship, this whole half of you is gone. And now what's exposed is all that raw pain and all that unhealed hurt. Now what's exposed is your true soft underbelly. Now what's exposed, right, is probably going to require some pretty darn major surgery. And you're just like, whoa, I didn't want this. Oh, thank you so much. Australop. Okay, love it. Thank you so much. We do have to love people from a far distance, especially once while we're going through the process of becoming healed. And Lori, okay, love. We come from the process while we're coming through the process of being healed. And then even afterwards, it's easier now. So I can encounter a narcissist now and not get entangled. I can have relationships now and not get entangled, because the truth be told, if you're not whole and you're not self-partnered, you're going to get entangled with anybody, even if they're good for you. Because part of you is always going to be needing to fill the rest of that void. Always. So, we feel the void because we were so entwined, and now all that we have left is all of the crap we should have dealt with before we ever got into the relationship. Now what we have left are all those memories that we thought we healed from, and those wounds we thought we got over. And we then have a choice. Do we decide to take accountability and responsibility for our own healing? Or are we going to get back into another toxic relationship? Be in love with yourself. Self-partnered. Yes? So, I never leave you like this, right? I tell you how we're going to get to the other side. The other side comes as you're allowing love and light to come in and fill these voids. And they don't get filled immediately, let me tell you. This isn't an overnight process. Give yourself everything they took, yes. Learning that you are enough for yourself. That you are in and of yourself enough. Can you say that in and of yourself, you know you're enough? If you can't honestly say that, you got some healing to do. If you're in a position where you don't like to sit with yourself, we got some healing to do. I will tell you that the most difficult person to have a conversation with is yourself. The most difficult person, for an unhealed person especially, to sit in silence with is yourself when you're unhealed. When you're unhealed. My process, I will tell you, when I was taught about chakras and meditation, and I always knew about prayer, honey. I didn't know anything about a chakra. I didn't believe in it. It was of the devil, And some of y'all that have been to church, y'all know what I'm talking about. Yanni, I see what you said, my love. We'll work on that. We'll work on that. Hello, Miss Reno. I had to learn how to meditate in complete silence. And I will encourage you all to do so. I can't come to the realization that our morning times together very soon, y'all know I usually do coffee convo and cards. We're going to start having our morning times together be guided meditation together. It's not going to be yet this week. I'll do the cards yet this week. But by the beginning of the new year, that's what that morning time is going to be. Meditation time. Y'all gonna come and we're gonna meditate together. Because if I can't get y'all to do it by yourselves, I'm gonna need y'all to get with me and do it. I gotta make sure you're doing it. What a beautiful time together we can have. Sometimes we'll have music, sometimes not. But we're going to learn as a unit how to meditate. We're going to learn as a unit how to calm our mind down. how to sit with ourselves and hear from our spirit. Your spirit, your infinite divine being that is of the divine, from the divine, that has been here before time began, it will be here when time ends. Your infinite being has everything in it to live your best life. It has everything in it for you to be completely self-partnered. It has everything in it for you to be enough. For you to love yourself, trust yourself, not get into situations where you need to defend yourself. And even if you do, how to get out of them. Because we end up here because we don't know how to defend ourselves. We end up here because we haven't healed ourselves. We end up here because we don't want to look at ourselves. And we will drag other people in our crap. Right along with us. Now, the abuser, I'm not saying the abuser is correct. I want you all to hear me loud and clear. The abuser is not in the right. What I am talking about is taking back your power and taking back your narrative and taking back your life. Because when you do that, now you change everything within you. Now you can say, I'm no longer that child that had to listen, that was being told to be quiet and shut up and not speak. I'm no longer that child that was being abused. I'm no longer that child, insert here, that watched their mom being abused and had to put their mother's arm back in their socket on more than one occasion. That was me. But I'm not her. So instead of me looking for a daddy to finally love me for me and stop putting me in a position that I shouldn't have been in the family structure that would just love the little girl, because that's why I married my ex. He was daddy that was just loving the little girl. Now, we could go a little deeper off into this, and I don't know how deep some of y'all want to go. I might want to leave that for not a YouTube video. But I will say this. I will say that this can also play out in our sexual tendencies, likes and dislikes. Now, I ain't saying what y'all do behind closed doors. That's your business, okay? That's your business. But what I am saying is you need to look at it. It permeates every area of our lives. So depending upon what abuse was inflicted upon us as children, especially as young women, I think I have all women in this room right now. If there's men that watch it later, men, this goes for you as well. As individuals, depending upon what abuse was inflicted upon us, that will dictate how we relate to the opposite or same sex, whatever our partner choice is, preference is. That will directly relate to that in every area of our lives. How we choose a mate, how we interact with our mate, how, and in every area, talk to them, do for them, and do with them. It will affect our sexuality. How we truly view ourselves affects our sexuality. So, I'm going to say it without saying it, but I'm going to say it. I was looking for daddy. I was looking for daddy to love the little girl. And I also became my mother. The one woman I did not want to become because she was abused by my father. And I would never have, I used to always say I will never be my mother. I will never allow a man to control me like that. And I lived 48 years roughly. 48, 49 years. Not having that happen. And doing everything in my power to make sure the man never had control over me in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Made sure I dated men that made less than me. Made sure I dated men that had less education than I. I always had to be in some level of control. So that was my own little craziness right there. Then fast forward, thinking I've dealt with the daddy issues. My father has now passed. We made amends. He changed. Everything's cool. I'm fine, cool in the game. And then I'm, good Lord, help me. I married this man. I married my father. Not only did I marry my father so he could love the little girl and I could be a little girl to him, because the man was 18 years older than me. He was truly old enough to be my father, legitimately. So I married him, and he had a lot of the characteristics of him. I don't even know why I'm going down this road, but I'm going here. Because I need you to understand why I had a void. I married my father so he could love me as the little girl, and I became my mother in how I interacted with him. Because all I knew was how I interacted with my father as a little girl, so I was able to get love as a little girl, even though it was weird because I was put energetically in the matriarchal position in the family. And to be honest with you, beloveds, to a great degree, I feel like I'm still there. But then I became my mother because I would wait on my ex-husband hand and foot, just like my mother did. And anytime he would tell me I was bad for doing this, or if I would just do this, he would come home on time and wouldn't be drunk. If I would just do this, then he wouldn't say these horrible things to me. If I would just, he never laid a hand on me. Now that I will say, the man never laid a hand on me. But it was still emotional and mental abuse. It was still that. Now, when we separated after the infidelity, some of you may know, I don't know how many of you have heard this story that are on this channel right now. Okay, love, thank you. I came home one day and caught him in the house cheating. And then found out that he had 4 other girlfriends besides her. And he's 60 some odd years old. I got to bow down to that, but can't do it here. So within a couple of months, I made him move out. had filed for divorce. So my whole life had become him. I would go to work. I would come home. On my way home from work, I would call him. Is there anything in particular you want from the store before I get home? I come home and I would make dinner. Sometimes he'd make dinner. But I didn't go anywhere. Like, when we went out, it was, we went out and we went out together. We went out with a couple friends. I didn't really have I would go with my kid. I'm sorry. With my girls places. But he pretty much had my daughters. I was pretty much separated from everything and everyone. I'd be here. I wouldn't be on my computer too much. Nothing. He was my whole life, even when he wasn't here. One moment. I apologize. I'm not going to be on much longer. At any rate, he was my whole life. He'd be gone for a few days and I didn't go anywhere. There was one time I went out to dinner with a girlfriend and he knew her. He had met her. Yeah, I'm still dealing with that cold. It's just the last little remnants. Anyway, he knew this woman. She and I hadn't seen each other in a while. Ran into each other in the nail shop. Went out to dinner. He was gone up at his farm. And so we went out to dinner and we were still talking. I hadn't seen her in months. So she came back to my house at the time. I wasn't living here. We shared a bottle of wine. You know how we do. So he called me and she was still there. We're laughing. He got insanely jealous. Angry. Threatened to break up. Because I brought her back to the house. While he wasn't there. And God only knows what we were doing. All the while, of course, now I find out he's up at his cabin up north in northern Wisconsin, having just the time of his life with one or two of his girlfriends he had up there. My point is this, and after that, I never had anybody over while he wasn't there. I barely went anywhere. My life was him. Pleasing him was everything. So when I got rid of him, this what was left. And let me tell you, it was a hot mess. It was all the roots. It was like a tangled ball of roots of the hurt that I had thought that was healed, but I had only taken up the surface. And I got down to some of the roots, but there was still more, and it was a hot, tangled mess of roots that I had to untangle and unravel all the way back to probably I was 2 or 3. Yeah, under my little crabby shell. Under my crabby shell, that soft underbelly was a hot mess, child. It needed surgery. My point is this, is that for a while, for months, I cried and cried and cried and cried and cried and cried and cried. I missed my husband. I loved my husband. I had taken vows with this man in front of God and man. I meant those vows when I said them. I missed him in my bed. I missed him on my couch. I missed him. I missed coming home to him. And there was probably a couple of months, Alicia's father will tell you, where he thought for sure, probably about 3-4 months, he thought for sure this man's going to get her back. Thankfully, he kept acting up, so there was no way it was going to happen. But let me tell you, that was a deep time of not only counseling, but self-reflection, self-healing, self-partnering, meditation, laying my heart bare. Laying everything bare before Creator. I don't want this anymore. I need to be healed. And layer by layer, bit by bit, each of those little roots. And then what was planted there was a strong oak tree. Once we got rid of the tangled mess. Why do you have a void? Because you've become one with this. The two truly have become one in this soup of toxicity. I understand. I get it. Yes, Lori. Right? We get it. And that's why we're here on this channel, because we get it. That's why I love to come together, because we get it, right? We get it. So for those of you that are going to watch this replay later, and even those of you that are here in this live chat, if you're willing to just say, I get it, or I'm there, or this is what I'm going through, share with us. We're going to be here for you. That's why it's so important for us to start this meditative process. That's why it's important, like I said the other night, if you don't get anything from me, if you don't want to use me to get, rake your energy healing and help you down this road, go to somebody. Just get it. Just get it. It's so important. I understand why you have that void, but you have to know that you can fill it not with more toxicity and crap, but you can fill it with love and with light and be whole and at peace. Nothing missing, nothing broken. Now, here, what we're going to do here. Oh, Heather, are you at home? Because if you're at home, if you could put my website in there. I forget I can't do it in Streamlabs. So my website's going to go down. It's in the description. It's all over the place. heartofinspiration.net. There's more toxic relationship recovery videos there. Thank you. Yes, that would be wonderful, Raina. I would love that. Yes, we are Goddess Femmes. Thank you for joining me tonight. There's more videos there. There's probably more videos here on this channel. The class is going up. We have a toxic relationship recovery class that I put out every other week. It's $15 for an hour. It's an hour download. You can keep it. Every once in a while, we'll gather together and talk about it. Unless I start getting a lot of people that want to do the live streams. If Yeah, this channel is transforming from just an intuitive channel to truly the teaching and healing channel that it was always meant to be. So I have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know. We might do some intuitive stuff tomorrow. I don't know. But I do know we're going to have Heartbeat and we'll have Coffee Convo and Cards in the morning. But very soon we're going to transfer that over to meditation as soon as Spirit tells me. And I've just enjoyed you guys. Thank you so much. But I'm at my limit with this entity. I see. No, you're not random at all. Right here at this moment, when we edit this, Heather, this is going to be at 46 minutes or so is where we're going to cut it. So thank you guys so much for joining. Yanni, we're going to talk now. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. Peace, love, blessings, and joy be unto you today, tomorrow, and for all eternity. Namaste.